book of Deuteronomy. At the close of the book of Numbers, the children of Israel have reached the end of their journey. 40 years have passed since they left Egypt. They are on the verge of crossing the Jordan River. This is the setting of the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy simply means second law. And that's what it is. It's a repeat of the law to the new generation of Israelites who were going to cross over and enter into the promised land of Canaan. So the book of Deuteronomy is basically a review of the law of God. And it is a further explanation of God's law to this new generation. And added to this are instructions and conditions to blessings in Canaan. Now for you and I today, Canaan represents the abundant life, represents the possession and enjoyment of God's best on earth. It is a picture of a higher plane of spiritual living. It is a picture of living life in fellowship with God, walking in the light of His presence, having daily communion with Him, enjoying God Himself. It is a picture of a flourishing spiritual life, a victorious life, a life lived above the norm, an extraordinary life, a life lived in the peace and the joy and the glory of the Lord. Canaan is a life of spiritual liberty. It's a life of spiritual plenty. So the book of Deuteronomy also serves for instruction for this kind of life. So it applies to you and I. And we're going to be in Deuteronomy chapter 13. And we want to read verse 4. Deuteronomy 13, verse 4. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God, and fear Him, and keep His commandments, and obey His voice, and ye shall serve Him, and cleave unto Him. So what we read here is a portion of the instruction for this life in Canaan. The structure of this verse is a general statement, and then that moves to a more particular statement. The general, which is the subject of the verse, is the beginning of the verse. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God. That's the subject of the verse. The particulars are what follows. Fear Him. Keep His commandments. Obey His voice. Serve Him. Cleave unto Him. So I want to speak this morning on the particulars of following after the Lord. The overall instruction of what we read here is to walk in the ways of God, to keep God the focus and the priority. It's not merely a command to follow rules, but it's an invitation. It's an invitation to a deep personal relationship with the Lord. And that should be our life. What we read here in Deuteronomy 13:4 is wisdom. And oh, the harm that can be avoided by taking heed to Deuteronomy 13:4. What we read here is how to live our faith in the midst of unbelief. How to maintain godly conviction in the midst of instability. What we read here is how to live courageously in a harassing society and culture. What we read here is how to maintain devotion and loyalty to God in the midst of powerful enemies and in seemingly insurmountable barriers. What we read here is how to be a people who live beaming lives in the darkness. How to be a people who live God-penetrating lives. What we read here is instruction on how to remain connected and linked in heart to God. So let's look at this. The general statement, ye shall walk after the Lord your God. That is in the context of verse 2. And in verse 2, Moses cautions against those who would attempt to lead them into idolatry or the pursuit of other gods. In verse 3, they were to view such attempts as a test of their love to the Lord. So what we read here in verse 4 is a means to prevent being led astray into idolatry. You follow verse 4 and you will not be led astray. You will not. And what we read here in verse 4 is an evidence of love to the Lord. So here's their duty. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God. That is a call to Himself. Every day God calls us to Himself. It is a call to live life in alignment with God. It is a call to live life in oneness with God. Correspondent and parallel to God. It is a call to be identified with God every day. To be fully dedicated to Him. It is a call to trust Him. It is a call to be committed to Him. It is a call to holiness. It is a call to communion with God. It is a call to a separation from the world. It is a call for Him to be the purpose and the passion of our lives. It is a call to faithfulness to God. A steadfast affection and allegiance to God. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God. There is no aspect of our life, there is no area of our life that is exempt from this. It is a calling that extends into every detail of our life. It is a call to a God-saturated life, to a God lifestyle. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God. That's to be the overall concept of our life. Now the word walk, as we've seen many times, speaks of that which is consistent, habitual, and progressive. And that is included consistent, habitual, progressive, after the Lord your God. Our walk is to be just that. Consistent, habitual, progressive. So what does this mean? Ye shall walk after the Lord your God. Well, it's what David spoke of in Psalm 63:8. He said, my soul followeth hard after thee. So it is a pursuit. It is a pursuit of God. Involved in a pursuit for God is a yearning for God, a loving aspiration for God, an eager desiring and longing for God. It is a stretching forth for more of God in our lives. And it requires that we have a heart for God. A heart for God. That means there's a delight in God. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God. Again, consistent, habitual pursuit of the Lord. It is what the psalmist declared. If we turn over to Psalm 42. Psalm 42. Verses 1 and 2. As the hart, H-A-R-T, deer, panteth after the water brook, so panteth my soul after thee, O God. My soul thirsteth for God, for the living God. Again, there's a pursuit of the Lord. It's also what David declared in Psalm 63 and verse 1. O God, thou art my God. Early will I seek thee. My soul thirsteth for thee. My flesh longeth for thee in a dry and thirsty land where no water is, to see thy power and thy glory. So it is to follow after God. One must have a heart passionately engaged for God. A heart passionately engaged for God. And again, this is consistent. This isn't just a now and then type of thing, an occasional type of thing. It is a heart passionately engaged consistently and habitually for God. It is a consistent and habitual appetite for God. A consistent and habitual preference for God. A consistent and habitual attraction to God. An inclination toward God. An obsession with God. It is an enthusiasm for God. An eagerness for God. Walk after the Lord your God. It proceeds from a knowledge of Him. And it involves a heart that is serious and resolved for God. It basically means be steadfastly minded for God. It's Isaiah 26 and verse 9. If we turn there. Isaiah 26 and verse 9. With my soul have I desired thee in the night. Yea, with my spirit within me will I seek thee early. This is what we mean by a pursuit of God. A following after God. Pursue God with passion. To pursue God, you have to move in the direction of God. Also, it means to follow Him, to walk after the Lord your God. It's what Jesus said. Follow me. What this means is that God is our pattern. God is our standard. It means that we acknowledge His authority. It means that we're watching Him attentively. We're listening to Him attentively. We're focusing upon Him. It's living near to God. It is a relationship with God. Follow Him. It's contact with God. Again, it's a life thinking God, moving in the direction of God. It is a life of togetherness with Him. It is a life of interaction with God. It means to be occupied with Him. And this is a vertical life. This is not a horizontal life. If we follow the Lord, we are going to be going vertically, not horizontally. We live vertically in a horizontal world if we're following the Lord. So it's a life of ascending spiritually. It's a life lived above this world. It is a life lived distinct and in contrast to the world. It's a life above all the dungeons and all the traps of the world. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God. And again, this is to be consistent and habitual. That leads us to the particulars of this life. The purpose of making a general statement and then move to the particulars is to clarify the general statement, to make more clear the general statement. So let's see what he says here. And fear Him. And fear Him. This is vitally connected to ye shall walk after the Lord your God. To fear God is a reverence for God. Reverence involves recognizing God as distinct from all else. It is a respect and an esteem for God. It involves an adoration of God. It involves an exaltation of God. It's viewing God with a sense of awe. Psalm 4, verse 4 again, stand in awe. Stand in awe. Psalm 33, verse 8, let all the earth fear the Lord. All the habitations of the earth stand in awe of Him. So our knowledge of God should result in a reverence for who He is. And a reverence for who He is vitally connected to ye shall walk after the Lord your God. It goes hand in hand with a heart for Him. Colossians 3 verse 22, singleness of heart, fearing God. Singleness of heart. That's a heart for God. Fearing God, reverencing God. Reverencing God is absolutely necessary to serving God acceptably. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 28, let us have grace whereby we may serve God acceptably with reverence and godly fear. You cannot serve God acceptably without reverence. So in all of our duties toward God and toward man, God is to be held in reverence. We are to exalt God in our thoughts, in our words, in our actions. It leads to wise living. We see the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. There in Psalm 111, verse 110, or verse 10. In Proverbs 9, verse 10. It will cause one to hate sin and to depart from it. Proverbs 8, verse 13 says the fear of the Lord is to hate evil. And Proverbs 16:6, by the fear of the Lord men depart from evil. It's also connected with a delight for God's commands. Psalm 112, verse 1, blessed is the man that feareth the Lord, that delighteth greatly in His commandments. Reverence for God is a part of a pursuit of God. The more you reverence Him, the more you pursue Him. The more you reverence Him, the more you follow Him. Also, notice the second thing. And also, the more you follow Him, the more reverence, follow after Him, the more reverence for God will increase. Fear Him, keep His commandments. Keep His commandments. Now, most will say, well, that means to obey. Well, it doesn't, because that's what the next line is. So it's something different. Keep His commandments. What are His commandments? Well, that's His orders. That's the boundaries that God has set for living life. It is His ways. It is His standards. His commandments speak of His authority, His government. It speaks of His authority and government in our lives. Now, the word translated keep is the Hebrew word semar, and it means to observe. Observe His commandments. It also means to give heed. Give heed to His commandments. It also means to preserve. It also means to be aware of. Be aware of God's standards. Be aware of God's boundaries. It means to regard. So it really has to do with our attitude and spirit toward God's commandments, toward God's boundaries. It is Psalm 119, verse 6. I have respect unto all Thy commandments. Psalm 119, verse 32. I will run in the way of Thy commandments. Psalm 119, verse 47. I will delight myself in Thy commandments. Psalm 119, verse 127. I love Thy commandments above gold, yea, above fine gold. Psalm 119, verse 131, I longed for Thy commandments. Psalm 119, verse 176, I do not forget Thy commandments. Keep His commandments. Don't forget. Don't be oblivious to the commandments of God. To keep His commandments means that we are to pay attention to them. We're to listen. We're to take notice. We're to bear in mind. We're to consider His commandments. We're to remember His commandments. So a reverence for God equals a reverence for His commandments. You can't reverence God and have no respect for what God says. The two go hand in hand. You can't reverence God and be oblivious to the boundaries that God has set. The two go hand in hand. You fear God and you keep His commandments. And where these two exist, there will be a pursuit of God. If we refuse to pursue God in our lives, we pursue everything other than God, can you honestly say, oh, I have a deep reverence for God? No, you can't. Because a reverence for God will lead to a pursuit of God. And it will lead to a observing, being aware of God's standards, of God's boundaries. So the more attention we give to His commandments, and that'll depend on our degree of reverence, the more we're going to follow after the Lord. The next thing, obey His voice. Obey. Obey. You can't obey if you're oblivious. to His standards. That's why keep His commandments comes first. Regardless of time and circumstance, pursue God. Follow God. Reverence God. Pay attention to God. And obey. This is what He's saying. Nothing in life is exempt from obey. Obey. Nothing. When faced with needs, obey God. When you have cares and burdens, obey God. Pursue God. When you're faced with difficulties and problems and obstacles, pursue God. Reverence God. Pay attention to God. Obey the Lord. Life would be so much easier if this was the way people lived. In the midst of battles and struggles, again, obey God. When everything seems to be in a state of upheaval, Deuteronomy 13:4. When all is joy and all appears to be well, your cup is running over, Deuteronomy 13:4. That's how we're to live. There's going to be times when God's commands appear to contradict common sense. Obey God. Just do what He says. There will be times when God's commands go against all of our thinking and all the thinking of others. But just obey God. Just obey God. There will be times when God's commands appear to put you in jeopardy. Well, if I obey here, I might lose my job. You might. Obey God anyway. Just obey God. Well, if I do this, my family may turn against me. They might. But you obey God. You pursue God. You reverence God. You pay attention to God. God's commands may, and they often do, interrupt your plans. You obey God. You just obey God. So here we are. We live in a disobedient world. And we read in 1 Peter 1 verse 14 that we're to be as obedient children. Obedient children. There is no pursuit of God. There is no following after God without obedience. And where there is reverence for God, there will be a right attitude. There will be a right spirit toward the standards and the boundaries that God has set for us. And there will be a ready and willing obedience to God. It is to obey God is to pursue God. It is to follow God. And we are to do so with a deep-seated reverence and a deep-seated interest in what God requires. That's what it means to keep His commandments. Have an interest in what God requires. How many people, how many who profess salvation will make a decision and not even consider God? Keep His commandments. Have an interest in God. And then obey His voice. The next thing is serve Him. And ye shall serve Him. That's our life calling. This whole verse is our life calling. You do not truly serve God without these other particulars. They all go together. There'll be many who think they can serve God while they're neglecting Him, while they have a wrong attitude toward Him, while they have a disinterest in His ways. But that's not serving God. God can't be served in that way. Ye shall serve Him. And included in that is everything that's gone before. Ye shall serve Him. Our lives are to openly and plainly declare, I am a servant of God. And the way we live our lives should cause no confusion, should cause no uncertainty concerning this. I am a servant of God. That is, my life intention is Him. Is Him. That's what it means to serve God. And our lives should declare that it is our life intention to serve God. Ye shall serve Him. That is, we have a preference for Him. We have an esteem for Him above all others. Ye shall serve Him. Be careful who you serve. Our lives should plainly declare, I am here to serve God. I want to serve God. It is my desire to work for Him. To serve Him means that many times we have to refuse to go our own way. It's inclusive of a desire to be surrendered to His government, to be under His rules, to be under His ways, serving His interest. So much so that His interest becomes our interest. It's living for Him. It's living for Him. And then notice the next thing. And cleave unto Him. So we see all of this that we've mentioned thus far is progressing toward God. Because you can't cleave to Him until you get close to Him. And cleave to Him. Adhere to Him. It is joined to Him in life. What better way of living? Joined to Him. Joined to Him. We have no idea what we might have to go through, but is it not better to do so joined to Him? Whatever it is. Cleave. Cleave unto Him. Firmly. Tightly. Securely. Resolutely. Wholeheartedly. Immovably. Cling to Him. It's strengthening ourselves in Him so that we can continue to pursue and all these other things that are mentioned here. As you go through life, cleave to Him. Cleave to Him. Well, I'm upset. And I'm angry with God. So I'm not going to serve Him. Does that improve your life? No. What are you accomplishing? Nothing. If you're not happy, cling to Him. Cleave to Him. I promise you, going away from Him isn't going to bring you happiness. Cleave to Him. It's a position of trust. It's a position of love to Him. It is where we find a stronger desire for Him. It is where reverence for Him is deepened. It is where we find a greater respect for His commandments, cleaving to Him. Cleaving to Him doesn't lead you further from Him, doesn't make you disinterested in Him. No, it feeds those things. This is where we find the strength to obey. Oh, I want to obey, but it's just so hard, and I can't. Cleave to Him. Cleave to Him. That's where the strength is to obey. That's where we find the strength to serve Him. And all of this leads to a greater degree of getting back to the general statement, walk after the Lord your God. That just keeps on increasing. Keep pursuing Him. Keep following Him. Now in closing, notice the person of the Lord in the text. Everything in this text, He's the center. It's all about Him. He's to be the focus. He's to be the purpose. He's to be the passion of our life. He's to be our fixation and our obsession. He's the mark. He's the aim. Read the text. Ye shall walk after the Lord your God and fear Him. 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 And keep His commandments. And obey His voice. And you shall serve Him and cleave unto Him. It's all about Him. Everything we're to do here, whether it be walk, fear, keep, obey, serve, or cleave, all centers upon Him. All centers upon Him. That should be our life. And that is how to avoid becoming spellbound to the ways and the attitudes and the values and the priorities and the pursuits of the world. That's how you rise above that. This is how you avoid being taken in by the secular. This is how not to be confused and have mixed emotions and being unsettled concerning your purpose in this life. This is how you rise above the madness and the confusion of the world. You shall walk after Him. We say it all the time. In what direction are we going in our life? You need to stop several times a day, and you need to just take a good look. Where am I headed? What direction am I going in? Because if you go in that direction long enough, you're going to get there. Whether it be positive or negative, doesn't matter. Follow after the Lord your God. Fear Him. As you're following after, reverence for God should be building. Keep His commandments. Pay attention to what God wants, to what God says, to God's standards. Don't lose sight of it. Then obey it. Do what He says. Just do what He says. That's how you serve Him. And as you serve, serving Him is not easy. But if you cleave to Him, that's where you find everything you need to serve Him. So that Deuteronomy 13:4, that it would be our life. That would describe our life. That we can identify with what is being said there in Deuteronomy 13:4. Brother Ben, if you'll come and lead us